just I guess we'll do it like that. All right, what up, guys? I thought I'd try something a little different today. You know, it's Saturday, winding up to college football. All the shows are exactly the same, so I figured let's do a beer version of college football pregame show. And so this was kind of off the cuff, and but you know what? If I have fun with it, we'll jazz it up in future episodes, whatever. But what we're going to do is I'm going to crack open a beer, and we're going to go over some of the top college games of the week. But instead of just picking like the winner, whatever, we're going to look at what team has the best brewery and compare the two, and then we're going to pick winners off of the best brewery for those teams. So anyways, the beers I have on hand right now that I'm going to start the show with is this Sam Adams Fest beer. You can only get it in that stupid Sam Adams sweater pack. I don't know why they don't make that its own thing. Anyways, let's crack this open. And that's nice. That's nice. But anyways, let's crack this open. Let's get into the games for the week. And we're looking at ranked teams, ranked opponents. And the first one we're going to look at is Penn State versus Ohio State. Now, Penn State, they're ranked like 20th. Ohio State, they're ranked like 3rd. But how do the breweries match up? And since this is an old-timey, classic, game, we're going to look at some of the old-timey breweries for the states. So what is the old-timey state of Pennsylvania brewery? It's Yuengling. You know what? Yuengling has a super crazy cult following. I don't get it, but Yuengling's everywhere around here. If you're in a Yuengling state, you see it everywhere. They have all sorts of kinds of, craft or beer all over the place. And then for Ohio State, what is the classic Ohio brewery in the state? That's the Great Lakes Brewing Company. I was trying to think of one that would be older and, more well-known, but Great Lakes Brewing Company is, kind of where it's at. So who's going to win the matchup of Yuengling versus Great Lakes Brewing Company? And to me, I don't think there's even really a competition with that. It's, the stuff that Great Lakes is bringing to the table is always going to beat Yuengling. So for this game, for this matchup, the state of Ohio State University will beat Penn State based on the brewery. And take a little sip. And anyways, again, this is off the cuff. I'm in a kind of a sucky hotel room in the middle of Montgomery, Alabama. So if I don't know if this is fun, we'll add a few more wrinkles to it, maybe some graphics eventually, make it into a real pregame show. So this is just kind of whatever, and I'll figure out the lighting with this because that window is not working. Anyways, next matchup, we're going to look at number 10, Ole Miss versus Auburn. Auburn's not ranked, but I like doing this. And now here's the thing. The state of Mississippi and the state of Alabama, not super amazing when it comes to like widely known craft breweries. So I had to get a little kind of into the weeds with this one. There aren't any like widely distributed beers from either state. Heck, I'm in Montgomery right now, the largest city in the state of Alabama, and there is only one functioning craft brewery in the state. I don't know if I can cut down on that glare. Yeah, there's only one functioning craft brewery in the entire state of Alabama. So this was going to be interesting. So I was looking up the highest rated brewery in each state that has at least 200 reviews on Google. For Ole Miss, it is the Porch at Lazy Magnolia Brewery. Kind of a nice little name. It's got a 4.7 rating out of 276 reviews. For Auburn and the state of Alabama in general, the highest rated was Folklore Brewing and Meading. I like that they added a few meads in there. Get a little creative. Let's add a little, other than just the beer in there. This is a 4.9 rating. And so because of Folklore Brewing and Meeting, I'm calling for Auburn for the upset to take out number 10 Ole Miss. They're taking them out. You heard it here first. Man, I tell you what, guys, if you haven't had this Sam Adams Seasonal Fest beer, it is well worth it. It's, go out. If you can still find that sweater weather pack, it's like the 12 pack with, comes with this, comes with the pumpkin beer, comes with the Oktoberfest, and comes with the Boston Lager. Pick it up. It's worth trying, Maybe next year they'll actually put this out on its own. But it's smooth, and it's 5.8% ABV, and it's 22 IBU. So it's a nice morning beer because it's 10:34 here. But I'm also talking faster than I wanted to. I wanted to get this started at 10:30 and run it to 11. But I should have had more stuff to talk about. But so anyways, yes, Auburn for the win over number 10 Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin is going to be pissed. Anyways, the next matchup we're looking at is number 1 Georgia versus Florida. Now, this always takes place in Jacksonville, and it kind of sucks because, it used to be the largest cocktail party in the United States. But they don't do that anymore. They won't serve the alcohol or anything like that at the game, which is kind of takes the fun out of it. And another thing, I'm not a huge fan of having a rivalry game at the same location every time. It's kind of similar to Texas, Oklahoma, and how it's always at the Texas County Fair. Throw Oklahoma a bone. Let it go to Oklahoma once in a while. I mean, this thing, Georgia, Florida, we're going to put it in Jacksonville, and one's in Gainesville and the other's in Athens. It's like they both – okay. But so that's a little lame. I think you kind of lose something when you don't have the home field. But anyways, let's look at Georgia versus Florida. Georgia, again, they have some craft breweries that can be found all over the place. They have some craft beer that you can find in different locations. But it's not necessarily always that awesome. So there's that. And then Florida. Florida is low-key one of the best brewing states in the country. Low-key. They have some of the best beer. And so when we're looking at a Georgia versus Florida brewery, we're going to take Sweetwater out of Georgia and Cigar City out of Florida. I could have done Funky Buddha or something else. But either way, no matter who I would have picked from Florida, Florida would beat Georgia. So again, I'm taking another SEC upset. I'm taking Florida over Georgia because of Cigar City Brewing. We're going to take a pause on this Fest beer. Dogs are just kind of going at it. Man, yeah, I got to figure out this. This is harsh lighting. But this is another beer that's in the pack. It is the Sam Adams Jacko Pumpkin Ale. I know a lot of you guys not a pumpkin fan. And since the live stream that I did with the other dude, Chris, the audio was all wonky, which I apologize for. Hopefully the audio is even picking up on this. But, this is 4.4% ABV and 8 IBU. And it is the most pumpkin pie tasting beer I think I've ever had. It has the nutmeg. It has that pumpkin spice. It has the clove. It has all of those spices you'd expect from a pumpkin pie. It really tastes like a mulled wine, but in pumpkin beer form. Like, This is also a beer that I think you could cook with, like very, very well. I think it'd be a phenomenal cooking beer. But yeah, it's I don't know. I very much enjoy this. I could really see baking like a ham with this beer. I think using this as a glaze for a ham would be phenomenal. But again, that's just me. But yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna get into the last two game predictions that we're gonna make for today, and I'll fix the timing issues for the next Saturday. But now we're looking at Iowa versus Wisconsin. Iowa's number 9. Wisconsin is not ranked, but if they win, they'll probably be ranked again. Wisconsin had a couple, hiccups at the beginning of the year. I went to that Wisconsin Notre Dame game at Soldier Field. That was a much closer game than the score predicted. They just kind of completely, fell apart. They were winning going into the fourth quarter, and then Notre Dame wins by like 21 because the whole thing falls apart. And Iowa, nobody thought Iowa was the second best team in the country. Nobody thought that. Iowa, total, I don't know if we can call them frauds yet, but there is no way they were number 2 in the country. So anyways, when Iowa takes on Wisconsin, what kind of breweries are we talking about? The number 1 or most widely known craft brewery in Iowa is Toppling Goliath. And they are, when you compare it to anybody, one of the best ranked craft beers in the entire state. And then you go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, when you think of Wisconsin, you think of cheese, you think of beer, you think of, the Green Bay Packers. And yet, when you get into looking at the top beers in Wisconsin, they don't really have any. Like top craft breweries, you don't have very many in there. You have more of the the macro beers, like you have Milwaukee's Best, and I think I don't know if Line and Kugel's still made out of Milwaukee, but you have a lot of those big name like box brewery brands. Which can you really compete with like a Milwaukee's Best or Line and Kugel against Toppling Goliath? No, you can't. And so I was trying to find the best rated craft brewery in Wisconsin, and I came across New Glarus Brewing Company. But again, they just don't have the clout of a Toppling Goliath. So for number 9, Iowa versus unranked Wisconsin, I'm going with Iowa on this one. Toppling Goliath is just toppling Wisconsin for this week. And now, let's get another sip of this. And now, for the prime matchup for the entire week, it is number 6, Michigan versus number 8, Michigan State. Now, this is where they're both 7-0. Who has each team played? Are they for real? Michigan State hasn't played a single team that has above a 500 record. Not one team. Michigan has played 3 teams that have above 500 record, but those 3 teams are Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, and Wisconsin at 4-3. So not that much different, but we're going to do. But of course, so both breweries are in the exact same state. So how are we going to do this? If both breweries are in the exact same state, we can't just pick out one brewery from each state. So what I did was I looked at the brewery that's closest to the campus of each university. For Michigan, the brewery, there's kind of 2 breweries that are really close, but Holmes Brewery in Ann Arbor is the closest to University of Michigan campus. And for Michigan State University, Harper's is the closest to Michigan State. It's basically, like 3 feet from campus. Now, I grew up in East Lansing. Harper's is one of the first craft breweries that I ever knew of. Like they were a craft brewery before like anybody. They have always been around, even though they do have a handful of craft beers. It's more of a kind of clubby atmosphere. There's a giant nightclub. They do food. I mean, it's huge inside. It's not what you really consider a craft brewery, at least for the modern, when you're looking at what they are nowadays. With that said, Harper's might have the worst beer of any craft company making beer I have ever had. They obviously make it cheap and they make it quick so that they can fulfill the needs of all the people coming in that need a beer, because they don't sell any other beer at Harper's. It's just they have their Spartan wheat, they have their raspberry wheat. Remember when raspberry wheat was like such a huge thing? Like, yeah, that like they were around before that. So they are a microbrewery you've never heard of that's been around for forever. So anyways, in the battle of number 6 Michigan with Holmes Brewery versus number 8 Michigan State and Harper's, got to go with the Holmes Brewery and the University of Michigan for this win. So to recap, for Penn State versus Ohio State, we're going with Ohio State and Great Lakes Brewing Company taking out Penn State and Yuengling. For number 10, Ole Miss versus Auburn, we're going with the upset. We're going with Auburn's Folklore Brewing and Meading taking out number 10, Ole Miss, and the Porch at Lazy Magnolia Brewing Company. Even though I like the name, it feels very Ole Missy. The next matchup, Georgia and Sweetwater Brewing Company versus Florida Cigar City Brewing. We are taking Florida. We're taking another SEC upset. This would be huge. You heard it here first. Florida over Georgia in Jacksonville, thanks to Cigar City Brewing. Then we have number 9, Iowa and Topping Goliath versus Wisconsin New Glarus Brewing Company. Wisconsin doesn't stand a chance with this. Number 9, Toppling Goliath and Iowa take out Wisconsin. And finally, the game of the week, Michigan versus Michigan State. In-state rivalry. Everybody hates each other. Everybody hates Harper's. And so because of that, Michigan and Holmes Brewery takes out Michigan State and Harper's. Man, I was hoping I could get this to run up to right up to kickoff. But it appears next week I need to have at least a couple more games and a few more segments. And I'll improve the quality, I think, with each whatever. I think this is just fun. Just kind of, talk college football, talk beer and football. And so we'll get a few more of those things going on. I think that'll be just fun to just kind of do that. So, I can't really ramble on for another 15 minutes, but hopefully you guys have a wonderful, awesome football Saturday. And, enjoy the games. And remember, the big upsets for the week, Auburn over Ole Miss, Florida over Georgia. All thanks to beer. But anyways, for now, for myself and also the 2 beers I'm checking out, the Fest beer from Sam Adams and the Jacko beer. So for ourselves, you guys have a wonderful Saturday.